Step back in time with me into the Alcazar Castle of Cordoba, Spain, where Christopher Columbus's historic journey began, and where the Muslim and medieval Christian worlds spectacularly collide. Discover the top 10 wonders of this majestic castle with me, Toby Nomad, as I follow the path of Christopher Columbus from Spain all the way to the New World. This is my first stop, so join me for an unforgettable tour of a fortress that changed the world. Here we go for the top 10 wonders of the Alcazar Castle in Cordoba, Spain. The Alcazar of the Christian Kings was built in 1328 over the ruins of the Moorish Alcazar and an earlier medieval Visigothic castle. It's located in Cordoba, Spain, which is in the south of Spain in a region called Andalusia. The Alcazar is located right in the Old Town, and you can walk to it from any of the nearby hotels or from the famous Roman bridge over the Guadalquivir River. If you're wondering what an Alcazar is, it just means castle or palace that was originally built during Muslim rule of Spain between the 8th and the 15th centuries. And that brings us to number 10 on our top 10 list, the Moorish Architecture. The Moorish architecture and elements inside this Christian castle are hard to miss. You can see it in the horseshoe arches and in the water features, which were very typical of Moorish palaces and castles. You can also see some geometric and floral motifs, and also azulejos, which are glazed ceramic tiles. The reason for this blend of Moorish and Christian architecture is because what was going on at the time here in Spain is that it was being slowly reconquered from the Muslims by the Christians, headed by Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, starting from the north and spreading to the south. Number 9. The Tower of the Inquisition. The Tower of the Inquisition is circular. It's in the southwest corner of the castle, and it actually housed the Inquisition archives. One of the first permanent tribunals of the Inquisition took place right here at the Alcazar of Cordoba, Spain. Chilling, isn't it? Right now, I'm standing almost directly over the place where some of the permanent Inquisition tribunals were held. It's really chilling to imagine that here was where people were tortured, abused, killed, completely ostracized from society for either being a Jew, a Muslim, or even not the right kind of Christian. Number 8 in the top 10 wonders of the Alcazar Castle here is the Tower of Amage. The Tower of Amage is octagonal, and it's in the northeast corner. It's also known as the Clock Tower because it used to feature a clock. It has Gothic features, including an ogival ceiling. The Tower of Amage was central to any castle or alcazar in Spain at the time, and it was called the Tower of Amage because it's the part of the castle where subjects would go to pay homage to the king and queen. Number 7 on our list is the Courtyard of the Moriscos. So Moriscos were Muslims who had decided to become baptized Christians. Under Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, you could no longer be Jewish, you could no longer be Muslim. But if you converted, you were accepted. So they had to have a word for it. You're a Morisco. Of course, you'd probably still always be under some level of suspicion. This courtyard is a mudéjar courtyard, and if you travel throughout Spain and even the Canary Islands, you'll hear this word a lot. Mudéjar basically just means a combination of Muslim and Christian artistic influences. Number 6 is the reception hall. Now, the reception hall is not necessarily outfitted to look like it would have during medieval times when Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand lived there. But it does have a beautiful Roman mosaic of the god Oceanus. And it also has the seats of honor of the 17th century chapter choir. Number 5 is called the Courtyard of the Women, and it's on the eastern side. This is the feminine section of the prison. Well, what do you mean prison? This castle was actually used as a prison after it had fallen into disuse as a castle. what you're looking at is even more interesting because there are several layers of ruins, starting with a Roman castellum, and then you can also see parts of the Andalusian Alcazar, which is when it was a Muslim palace. Number 4, the baths. So underneath the Hall of the Mosaics here in the Alcazar are what's called the baths. They were built in 1328 by King Alfonso XI, and they had cold, medium, and hot, and they were basically for the king's mistress. The reason I bring this up talking about Columbus is because Columbus also had a mistress in Cordoba, who probably took care of all the day-to-day logistics for him so he could focus on nagging the king and queen. This brings us to the beautiful Hall of Mosaics at number 3 on our top 10 list. Now, it's called the Hall of Mosaics because it actually features mosaics on the walls, which were from Roman times. They were dug up from the Corredora Square in the 1950s, and they were originally from the Roman circus. There's also a 3rd century sarcophagus in here, so they're using this room to display Roman items that wouldn't have been in the castle, but it becomes a beautiful museum. The other interesting thing is it's one of the largest rooms that you can still see inside the Alcazar Castle, and it very well could have been the room where Christopher Columbus first met Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. One thing that we know for sure is that at Columbus's first meeting with the king and queen, he was rejected. Columbus did not get approval for his voyage to the New World. And that takes us to number 2 on our list, the beautiful gardens of the Alcazar, where Columbus himself may have wandered around hoping and praying after his rejection. So these gardens date back to the 10th century when this was a Muslim Alcazar. They were originally started by Abd al-Rahman III, and he also had an aqueduct going here. Queen Isabella eventually ordered the water wheel shut down, but that was after the time of Columbus. In these beautiful gardens, you can now see the same kinds of trees that would have been here: palms, cypress, orange, and lemon. It's divided into higher, middle, and lower terraces, which was part of the beautiful architectural style that comes from that Muslim Moorish heritage. Everything has been redone in the mid-20th century, but it retains a lot of the original elements and is influenced by both the Muslim and the Christian medieval periods. Probably the best part of the Alcazar of Cordoba, Spain is number 1, the Promenade of the Kings. This is actually part of the gardens, but it's the most beautiful and majestic part of the gardens. It's called the Promenade of the Kings because it is lined with statues of all the Spanish kings who lived here and contributed to the Alcazar of Cordoba and the reunification of Spain. But it also has a statue of Christopher Columbus meeting Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand for the first time. So you can walk down this beautiful promenade, imagining yourself in Columbus's shoes, shaking, trembling, hopeful, excited, dejected. You can breathe the same air, you can see the same pool and the same cypress trees. Take yourself back in time at the Promenade of the Kings. I really enjoyed going to the Alcazar of Cordoba, Spain for myself because I love being able to touch ground in places where the history of the world changed forever. Hopefully you've been able to experience a little bit of that with me today. Maybe one day you'll get to go here for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you're gonna love the next one because we go to the Great Mosque of Cordoba, one of the most beautiful architectural wonders in the entire world. Please make sure to click subscribe if you haven't already so that you always know when a new video is going to come out. I'm Toby Nomad, and see you in the comment section.